All right, we're on
We're on.
2 days in a row.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
We
feels good.
yeah, it does. We kind of took a couple weeks off, so we're making up for it now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's good.
yeah. It's funny though, even just getting together yesterday and then today, just feel better. Like a couple weeks, it's kind of like I don't know, not riding a bike for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and I've mentioned this before. I like it just personally for my own benefit.
Yeah.
I know that we're going to be talking about stuff, so throughout the week I may be more present and thinking about things a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then when we come in and talk about it, it's kind of holds me accountable, to myself. And we
Yeah.
throw around new ideas, and I can take those ideas and implement them. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. It's a great thing.
We even talked about yesterday how we don't ask ourselves what we're thinking. Like that's usually not on our mind. Like, hey, what am I thinking about? Or where should I direct my thoughts? So it's nice to just kind of once a week, hey, we're going to get together, we're going to chat. So I'm always looking, hey, what's this little small business that someone did here? What's the success principle there? Or people, just, hey, they said something pretty profound. I wonder if they know that was profound or if that's just part of them, their subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
I've noticed that too, as we've talked about scrolling Facebook or, YouTube or whatever, and noticing, picking up on stuff more. And I've noticed that as well, that I'm like, oh, that's a cool business or whatever. Whereas before it was just maybe entertainment. Now it kind of is easier to look at that stuff and look for the lesson in it maybe or something. But it is good. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
You asked yesterday about the Jordan Peterson Joe Rogan podcast. And I went and looked, and I still had like 45 minutes left. So I listened like 10, 15 minutes more of it, and he got into that part about the restaurant.
Oh,
just all the opportunities. And it is. There are opportunities everywhere. And it's so nice to approach life in that way too, because we get caught up in, oh, my job is a grind, or I've got to do this again, I've got to do that again. But switching that up just a little bit, there's a podcast by Andrew Huberman.
Never heard of that.
It's called, I think, the Huberman Lab. I haven't listened to much of them, but on one, he gets into these small dopamine releases that we get when you switch from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And how a lot of times, well, all the time, when we reach a milestone, we get a dopamine release. So, hey, I did this, get a dopamine release. But if we change our mind to the steps of learning, whether they're positive or negative or, whatever kind of feedback we get, if we're using those as, hey, I learned, then we start to get this constant dopamine release off of everything.
So that's like our milestone, I guess.
Yeah.
We learn something new, and that's the part of the milestone.
Whatever. Yeah. So yesterday I was like, hey, sorry, I'm jumping all around. My mind's all over the place. Well, I was looking at that as a negative. But if I start to look at that as, hey, we were here, we were talking, I felt like I was jumping all over the place, which is awesome, because that means next time it's just a slight different mindset, but so much better.
Yeah. And you can focus on that. Yeah. It's a learning experience,
Yeah.
It's so, and just, I think too, finding ways to have some consistency. We come in, we do the podcast, and we, both of us have kind of said, oh, I didn't feel real good on that one, back and forth. It's interesting because it seems like when I feel that way, you feel like it went real good. And when you feel that way, I feel like it went real good. And which is a good thing, it shows the value of, being around people that can make us better, but also just that consistency, whether it's perfect or not, it's mostly going to be imperfect, the stuff that we do, but just going through the steps of, going and doing a workout, even if the workout was not perfect, or going to, talk to people, even if you feel like it wasn't perfect, or looking into the business or starting a business or whatever, just that consistency of being conscious about what you want, implementing an action for, doing that, and then going through the actions to make it happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value there.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
I don't know.
The growth mindset. It's just so, if anyone's going to venture out and do a side hustle or network with people, whatever it is, that growth mindset, just, hey, you know what? I grew from this. I messed up. That's okay. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get caught up on, was this good or was this bad? Well, I don't know. Mark, did you learn? Yeah. Well, then it's good.
Yeah. Yep. And just being okay with the outcome. We talked about I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or not, but there's like a story of a guy that whenever something happened to him, he's like, people would be like, oh, that's real good or that's real good, bad. And he's like, maybe,
Yeah.
So like the example was he had a son and everybody's like, well, that's real good. And he's like, maybe, yeah, I think so. And then the son broke his leg and everybody's like, well, that's real bad. And he's like, maybe, I don't know. And then there was a war and everybody's sons got called to war, but his son's leg was broken. And so everybody's like, oh, you're so lucky, like, look at that. And he's like, maybe, just of all of those things, instead of jumping to conclusions, just having an open mind about it and saying, yeah, maybe, we don't know the outcome of it a lot of the time. So
I like that. And there's also Jocko Willink that's like, good. Only his voice sounds much better. Good.
Yeah.
Good. But whatever happens, his subordinates, quote subordinates, would come to him in special operations. Hey, this happened and it's so bad. And he was like, good. Well, why is it so good? Because you learned. Or one time someone went to him and they're like, well, I want to tell you this, but I know that all you're going to say is good. And he's like, oh, good.
Good.
That means whatever I'm saying is it's getting transferred over to you.
Yeah.
So we're all going to go through so many different ups and downs in all of life, but especially, going off and starting a business somewhere. There's ups, there's downs, but it is what it is, which is something else. I saw something and they're like, be careful of people that say it is what it is because they understand. You're like, that's kind of cool. Like, hey, this happened. No, it is what it is. You're just accepting it. And that acceptance it can be hard, but it can also be very liberating. We don't have to worry anymore about, well, what if this happens? Crap's going to happen.
Yeah.
And good stuff's going to happen. So it's all good. It is what it is.
Well, and I'm terrible at that overthinking part.
Yeah.
Like my wife, with business decisions or whatever's going on, I'll think about every possible scenario there is and think that I can plan to make it happen the way that I want or whatever, And my wife is always just like, you are overthinking this. Like, how do you know? Like, why are you screwing up today being stressed about this when you have no idea? It's going to happen however it happens, and you'll adjust and solve the problem and make it work anyway.
Yeah.
So that's something else too that I've been, I think people think if have that attitude of it is what it is or whatever, maybe there's some apathy there, but it's not apathy. It's just being okay with it and knowing, maybe having some self-confidence of I will deal with it however it happens, or whatever. But
there are people who have been through just stuff I can't even imagine. And when it's all said and done, they're like, huh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Like there's some resilience in the human.
Well, and I think we all do that to some extent. You look at a problem moving forward, like look at it in the future, anticipating it, and it seems huge. But once you kind of work through it, you usually those problems, you don't take them on all at once. It's bit by bit, and so you work through it, say over a few months or whatever it is that process takes to resolve. And then you look back on it and it's like, that wasn't that big of a deal, and it never is. We always make it out to be this huge thing. And then we get in it and we get past it. And it's like, And I mean, there is things that are obviously more more negative than others.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diminish
For sure.
the negativity of some people's situations, because
Yeah.
there are things that are huge.
Yeah.
But
One nice
it
thing
seems
is
like our small little things that we worry about and think are a big deal really aren't.
Yeah.
Like you're saying.
Yeah, and stuff's gonna pop up in business every single day. And it's like if you get caught up on the little details and you start taking everything personally, which is very easy to do. And I still do and have done in the past. But if you do that, it's so wrecking. Instead, it's like, hey, things are gonna pop up every day. We're gonna fix them and we're gonna get better. And if we don't get better, we're gonna find out later because something else will pop up and then we just get to fix it.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think we minimize what we've done in our life anyway. Like I have some, just like you said, daily things, whatever that we're scheduling in our business right now, kind of looking forward into the spring and the summer and what work needs to be done, and just managing that, lining up, this work needs to be done, and then this work needs to be done, and this work needs to be done. And sometimes it's like, holy cow, like it's kind of, you kind of look at it and you're like, man, this is a pain.
Yeah.
Or, it seems like a big deal or whatever. You look back and it's like, oh, well, I've been doing this all along. It's no different. The problems are similar problems as we've solved all along. So, just, I don't know, I guess it's look back and give yourself credit for what you've done and know that you're going to continue to do that in the future.
Yeah. And you can take all of that past and you're like, hey, I thought this was very difficult then, but I've done it 3 times. That's
It's
not that
big of a deal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway.
And there's always someone out there that has been through it. The world of billions of people. So if it's real estate, if it's relationships, whatever it is, someone out there has been through it. You can either reach out to them or read a book on the subject or whatever it is. There's answers out there. We have YouTube. We have so many resources now.
Well, and we kind of had, we were talking before that we had some people ask us about networking.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff. So, I mean, just to your point right there, there's always somebody that's got an answer out there.
Yeah.
For the most part, maybe there's not in some things, but there's people that can help you get through that or figure it out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could talk about that too with the networking stuff.
Yeah.
How, and even with the Jordan Peterson example that you gave earlier, when he said he's working as a dishwasher, that's kind of one of the things that he had meant, I think, when he said there was unlimited opportunity there.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about the people he was working with and the customers he was serving and all of that stuff. And so it was kind of building on that principle that networking with people just opens up opportunities like crazy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
When we were starting the first business, we didn't have the money to do it, but we knew it was a good idea. Wrote a business plan, and then at that point it was all right, let's go network, let's talk to banks. Banks were like, you guys are silly, that's hilarious that you'd think that we would lend you money. So then we just moved on and continued to talk to other people until, they're people that we knew, but our goals aligned. We knew that we could add value to their life by paying interest. They knew they could add value to ours by giving us a loan. And then at that point, my whole life goal was to make sure that we lived up to our agreement. We pay that loan back, they get their interest, and maintain a good relationship with them. And that relationship has been ongoing for 15 years now. And it has moved from a little bit of money that gets paid back, and then a little bit more and a little more until it's, bigger and bigger things, which can mean bigger and bigger payouts for them, but also bigger and bigger things that we can do. And it's always a good symbiotic relationship. But if we're going to go rent a place from someone, we've got to go talk to them. And then you get to talk to this person. And really when it's called networking. And if you think about a network, it's really what it is. We're maybe, I don't statistically don't know, but say you're 2 people away from knowing someone to reach your dreams.
Yeah.
And there's some, I wish I knew the actual numbers, but it's like we know everybody on the earth through 5 people.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, 5 or 7. It's not very many.
It's not. It's just to think there's someone in Africa And I know you, and you know this person who knows this person who knows this person who knows someone in Africa. Like, that's not very far away.
Yeah.
So whether that's someone that has a lot of money that is looking to invest, maybe it's someone who wants to partner in on real estate, someone who wants to open up an ice cream shop. It could be so many different things, but the person who's lending the money, they don't want to go start the ice cream shop, but they do want to make the interest off of the ice cream shop. And they know that your goals are to make people happy. And you have this little recipe that's so good with ice cream.
Yeah.
But the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
It just gets, it's just getting out there, talking to people.
Yeah. And it's amazing what happens because same thing. I mean, I found a lot of the similar things that you're talking about in every business that we've done. We did this latest one. It's a real estate project. And so I had and every business that I've started, and probably any business that anybody starts, you have no clue. Like everybody, it's a fallacy that you have to know the business before you start the business. Well, that doesn't make any sense because you have to get in the business and learn it and start it and grow it to understand the business to begin with in the first place. So pretty much everybody's starting from square one. And, I'll just a lot of times make a list. And a lot of times that list has 2 or 3 people on it. And it's people that, this one happened to be a real estate project. And so it's like, okay, who knows real estate? Who have I worked with in the past, or who, within my acquaintances could I call and talk to? Or, a lot of times there's government places that we have to get licensed with or whatever to start a business, so kind of within that circle, I just started making a list. Okay, who can I contact? Well, I had a real estate agent that I'd worked with before that was a friend. I made a list of the people that were going to have to, work with the local government jurisdiction on it, and some of those things. Within 2 or 3 contacts, as I started to contact those people, then my list grew from 3 or 4 to, each of them had 3 or 4 people for me to contact. The guy in at the county office was like, oh, well, here's a surveyor and engineer that are really good. They do most of the work in our area. So call them, and I called that realtor, and she's like, well, here's an engineer that I've had help us in the past, or here's a guy that I know has done a similar kind of project, Well, now my list has grown from 3 people to 8 people, maybe. So then calling those people, it just grows and grows and grows. And I think the main thing is just not being scared to talk to people and to be curious. Go in and ask somebody some questions. People love talking about a subject that they are employed in or have some knowledge in, or those kind of things. People are more than willing to help out. They love to help out and feel like they're providing value, and so that's, and even anymore, I used to really get nervous about calling people, and one person that kind of got me over that was my dad. He always, if we had a question about anything, or we were thinking, oh, what about doing this kind of a business or project or whatever, he would like immediately think of people that he knew that would be involved in that, or maybe had a connection, and call them and talk to them about that, He's really good at that. And so now, even if I have just a thought of somebody that I need to call, I'll call them and just chat with them, and just pick their brain a little bit. And it's really, it's fun. It's really fun, because then you build that relationship, and then in the future, they, you open up that line of communication, and they can call you and ask you for some advice on something, or whatever. It's just, I think it's so important.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important parts, is that symbiosis, that symbiotic relationship. Something that's so important to Kira and I are just that people feel and are valued. So if a customer comes in and they're paying a certain amount for a gym membership or for a product, I want them to feel, and for it to be true, that they got more value
Mm-hmm.
than they paid.
Mm-hmm.
So, or if we have a relationship, even just with friends, like I want to make sure that I'm never a user. Like,
Yeah.
I'm want to talk and chat and just be as valuable as possible. Just never wreck relationships. I would much rather lose a business than a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just certain things like that that the relationships themselves, that becomes the success. Um, we might think, hey, by talking to 3 or 4 people, I'm going to get to know someone that's going to give me the advice for this. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but also exactly what you just said. Now you can become the advice in
Mm-hmm.
another way. And it just becomes, we're all working for a greater good that's more than ourselves. It's to build and elevate everybody.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing to me how that can grow really rapidly. You know, that a network can, I mean, just it doesn't take long to build a network of people, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways that I try to go about communicating with people is acting kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Like just, hey, like I'm totally asking them for their input, you know, even if I know the answers. Is, you know, hey, I'm because you never want to act like cocky or anything like that. And a lot of times if you just ask the questions and let them go wild and tell you whatever, you'll get way more information than you want anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, you know, but it is hard to kind of get over that and learn how to talk to people. You know, for me, it's very informal. I'll call people. I call probably multiple people a day. Just if I have an idea that I'm like, I wonder, even if it's something that I most likely won't pursue,
Yeah.
but I'm curious about, I'll just, if I know somebody, I'll just call them and say, hey, what do you think about this? You know, and you know, very informal, very, I'll say, you know, I'm just gathering information for this. I know nothing about it. I'm just gathering information and seeing what my options are. And, and, knew that you'd be somebody that might know something about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it works great. It's really, and over time, the talking to people kind of, you get over that because you're calling not, I think that we get nervous talking to people if we're worried that we're going to be asked a question or something we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't like to look stupid or dumb, like, you know, like in a group of people answering questions or whatever. Well, if I'm already acting like I'm totally naive to it, and I'm just gathering information, it's very easy to go into a conversation and just be like, look, I don't know anything about this. I'm just gathering information.
Yeah.
What's your experience? What do you know? And there's no reason to feel nervous about that, you know, really.
And people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not a manipulative thing or anything negative to really just go into a conversation. Be like, hey, so tell me, tell me about yourself. Tell me about this. Jack Canfield does really good at telling stories of people who wanted to start businesses and they just go directly to their competitors, like who's going to become their quote competitors.
Mhm.
Like someone wants to start a hairdressing business, go find the most successful hairdresser in that town and go talk to them. It's usually not, oh, you're going to compete with me. No, it's, oh, you don't know something? Well, I do.
Mhm.
And let's talk about it. And then they become an ally.
Yeah.
There's really no
Yeah.
competition in a growth mindset either. It's really, we can all do everything.
Mhm.
And the market will regulate itself in a way. If there are too many
Yeah.
dressers, then it is what it is. So,
And I think there's the motivation to be good at what you do.
yeah.
You know, go figure it out, decide if it's the right kind of business, and then grow a really good business, provide a lot of value for your customers, and there will always be a market for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, yes, there might be some hairdressers that have to, you know, it might get oversaturated and some hairdressers are going to be having to find something else to do. But you know, and this might sound mean, but it's not. if you're the best hairdresser, then you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Or you're one of the best. And there's more, say some of the lower rung hairdressers go out of business. Well, the community as a whole is getting better hairdressing service as a whole because the whole industry's been lifted some, or whatever. So, and maybe that's a mean way to look at it, but I think that it's a net positive value for everybody.
Well, and I think what's important to understand is that person that went out of business would be miserable being at the bottom. So by them almost being forced into doing something else or not being willing, at the same time, they might be the best or they might be different or they've innovated in some way. And if they don't want to, then they're probably going to be miserable doing what they're doing anyways. So obviously this is completely anecdotal, but by them doing something else, it's better for everybody. It's better for them because they're going to be more happy than being the lowest rung. And then it allows the others to innovate or go out of business or whatever.
If they're on the lower rung, their business probably sucks because they don't like it.
Yeah.
And so it's maybe,
I totally agree. And it's okay to give it up. It's okay to give up on things too. Giving up is not failing. Doesn't mean they're a failed hairdresser. It means they learned they didn't want to be a hairdresser.
Right.
And
they move on to something else.
Yeah.
So
I think we talked about it before. Many butchers went out of business when the refrigerator was invented, but they just adapted and overcame. And, maybe butchering was in their family and they're like, well, I still want to be a butcher. So they just became the best.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we're in one of those phases right now, big time, the last couple of years with everything that's changed and evolved. A lot of people have found themselves in that situation where they're having to really look at maybe this job or business is not a viable option for me, or I don't agree with some of the things going on here, and it's time for me to cut ties and do something else. I think that, and we've talked about this a lot before too, with the unemployment rates and everything else, and everybody's saying, there's labor shortages and stuff. I really think there's a lot of people that are moving from things that they don't want to do into things that they do want to do. And I think that that's a big part of that. There is some that are taking advantage of government payments and benefits and those kinds of things. I honestly don't know any.
Yeah.
I know quite a few people that have left a job or a business or something that they perceived as better, or something that they want to pursue. But I really don't know a lot of people that are just doing it to sit at home on the couch. Now, there's probably some out there.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a large restructuring phase right now where people are moving from what they don't want to do or what they don't agree with into what they really want to do.
Which is cool to see and to have that attitude and mindset, because it is tough right now to look at the world and, at least for me, and see like a lot of positive. The world is great. People are great. Persons, individuals are great. Just kind of seems like sometimes we get together as a group and we become stupid. So to be able to see something like that and be like, yeah, and that's totally true. I know more people that are doing what they want to right now than probably ever before in my life. There's also some fear about the future, which can make things hard. I think that's why it's important to network. If you know someone who's been successful in something for many years and they can help you through it, or number two, it's just dabbling a little bit. We're tired with our job. We've talked about this before. If we're tired, then you dabble in something, whether it's trading cryptocurrencies or doing some drywall on the side. It could be anything, doing hairdressing, whatever it is. Dabble a little bit, dabble and see where you want to go, and be okay with where it takes you. Bruce Lee, be water, my friend. Like if we're just flowing, wherever it goes. Life's pretty good.
And staying open to new opportunities. I think along with dabbling is and I've been there before too, we close ourselves off to, we have a job, we think, okay, this is it. I'm just going to work the job and that's it. And that's, But if we kind of look to maybe always looking at opportunities and never being, I mean, always being content is a hard word for me, because it's like, okay, if we're content, are we really growing and looking for other things? But I think that there's contentment. We can be content where we're at, but we can also be looking for more. You know, we can be
Yeah.
grateful with what we have while at the same time looking for other things. And I think that that's kind of a good way to be, you know, even though it's, you have a job and you have a business or whatever it is, and you feel somewhat content there and grateful for that because it's providing, but you know, maybe that's not what you're 100% in love with. Always be looking for opportunity, you know,
Yeah.
like you dabble, you know,
Yeah.
dabble in stuff, go try something out, go, and it wouldn't even necessarily have to be a business per se. I mean, dabbling in a new hobby
For sure.
or some kind of activity that at least gets us out of our comfort zone and learning new things, because really that's all a business is.
Yeah.
You starting a business and learning how to start a new business is no different than learning how to go and learn jujitsu or something.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's the same. You're just figuring out a new skill and
Yeah.
going through it,
Getting out of your comfort
and
zone every
you're
day.
trying to benefit from it. With jujitsu, you're trying to benefit from greater knowledge and how to maybe defend yourself or whatever. You know, you're trying to get a benefit for yourself. In a business, same thing. You're trying to learn some moves and some things and different ways to provide value for people so that you can make a profit for yourself. Like, you know, it's the same thing. So anything to get out of our comfort zone and
Yeah.
look into other avenues or other activities or stuff like that is just all good.
It is. It's so good for us. I have driven, this is early on. I drove to jiu-jitsu and I sat in the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I don't want to go in and look stupid. Like, I own a gym. I should, know all this stuff. And I sat in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
It gets like 15 minutes in. I'm like, okay, it's too late for me to walk in now. Drive away. Someone comes to a class the next day and they're like, I've sat in the parking lot before and I haven't wanted to come in.
Really?
I'm like, you did. I understand.
Huh?
And it's interesting. It's not fun to get out of your comfort zone. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's the only place you can grow. Never learn how to do jujitsu if you don't walk on the mats. And I still don't really know how to do jujitsu. Just so anyone tries to jump me, give me 21 feet and some time with a gun. It's so good for us.
Yeah.
And just get out.
And it gets, that's the thing. Maybe a hobby is a way to kind of get out of that, start breaking out of that comfort zone to gain some confidence, to be able to say, okay, now I'm going to jump into starting a new business or something. I'd never thought of it that way. But anything that we can do to get out of our comfort zone. And when you go to jujitsu or you go to, piano lessons or guitar lessons or, whatever it is that you go to a running club, you start running and maybe you run a half marathon or something. It's all with people. So you're building your network there too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business network, but you are networking with those people. You learn some communication skills, and you learn about those people. And most likely, if you get to know about those people, there's probably somebody there that's going to benefit you in the future with a business, and it's just, it's so important to just always be looking for, just be curious and always looking for new things. I listened to Raul Paul on Real Vision, and he always is talking about that, how he goes, okay, this is your comfort zone right here. This is where all the magic happens over here. Like, he's like, there's no overlap in the middle. They are completely separate things. And so he's always talking about that. Get out of your comfort zone. Go learn about, most of his is finance. So go learn about something new in finance. Go learn about cryptocurrency. Get out of your comfort zone. If you've always, kind of just done stocks or whatever, go learn about cryptocurrency. Maybe go look at some other things. And
That's probably a good action step for people to take is go out and find something that puts you in a group of people and just get to know them. So it might be a CrossFit gym. And I can obviously speak to that because it's easy. It's amazing the amount of people, the amount of diversity that is at a gym. You go in and, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm a student. Well, what do you do? Well, I own a trucking company. Well, oh, that's cool. Well, what do you do? Well, I develop properties. You're like, wait, I can talk about trucks now. I can talk about developing properties. I can ask someone about their education.
yeah,
It's Jordan Peterson working in a dishwasher or in a dishwashing, whatever he was doing. It's the same. Just getting out, look around, network, talk to people, be genuinely curious in them. Don't just go talk to people to get ahead. And that's not good for anybody. You know, it's a terrible way to start out a relationship. Just be genuinely curious about the world. Get out, join a gym, get on a Facebook group that has to do with the subject that you want to learn, whatever it is. Just get out, talk to people, be genuinely interested.
Yeah, be curious.
Dabble. Yeah, be curious. Yeah, curiosity is how everything's been invented, right? How does the light, how can we have electricity? How can we harness that into a light bulb? I don't know. Pretty curious. Let's try it 10,000 different ways or whatever it was. Cool.
Well, and I think too, I find myself getting in the habit of, if I'm online or whatever, just kind of being brain dead at certain times, scrolling or whatever. And I think to go along with that too, the curiosity stuff is while you're scrolling, and I do this quite regularly, but if I'm scrolling and I see something that piques my interest, maybe an issue or something, go Google it.
Yeah.
Go, maybe don't Google it, maybe DuckDuckGo it or something, but go look at it, just kind of build that curiosity. And I find a lot more value in those things when I look into it rather than just keep scrolling past it and whatever. There's things we can learn all around us every day.
Yeah.
And I even will, if I have an idea, like a business idea, I will go very far down the road of looking into, if it's something that I like, if it's something that I'm like, I really think, and I know the other side of this is I have a lot of times too, where I'm like, that's a good idea. And I never, you never do anything, which is fine too. It just kind of depends on if you like the idea or whatever. But some ideas, if I get an idea and I'm like, I really like that idea, I will go down the road quite a ways to get the information that I need to, and I still might decide not to do it. But all of that helped me to be able to know the process for another business down the road. So it wasn't wasted time or failure. I had a business this summer that I was thinking about, and it would have been a retail business where you have products that you sell and everything. And I probably spent quite a bit of time for 2 or 3 weeks calling, talking to people on the phone, calling around to distributors and wholesalers. And now I know what it takes to start that business. If I really wanted to start that business, I've got, and after digging into it and stuff and pursuing some other things and in other businesses, I'm like, I don't know that that's kind of meshes with the lifestyle that I want. So I'm not really for sure that that's something that I want to pursue. But if I wanted to, I've got all the contacts I need. I know what the margins are. I know what kind of building I would need. I know, like I've already got a lot of the answers, and all of that was not wasted, even if I never use that business again. Even
if you never use it, at least 20 years down the road, you don't go, what if?
Yeah.
Well, no, there's no what if. You really looked into it and researched whether you wanted to do it, and you decided not to. And that's something too. Everything that we do, it's a decision. So, when you make the decision, it's okay to make it and be good with whatever outcome happens, because whatever happens just happens. Life is good.
Yeah.
If we have that attitude and we want to make it good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is.
All
It's
this is cool. And that's, it's hard to like, have words sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's cool.
Do you have anything? Do you have any best practices? Another thing that I thought about for networking was there's groups everywhere that are related to certain subjects. If you want to get involved in real estate, there's probably a real estate group, meetup group or whatever in most towns across the United States, probably across the world. Have you ever, and I've never really gotten into that. I've kind of built my own network organically and that. But have you ever done anything like that? Have you ever gone to like any groups that meetup groups for real estate or for business or any of that kind of thing? Entrepreneurship?
I've gone to some business seminars. I think that's really important. And they always talk about networking at those seminars. I've never really have because just outside of my bubble, like, this bubble, haven't really done that. My first thing that actually pops into my mind when you say that is I'd actually tell people to be a little leery of some groups. Sometimes, if they're a real estate group, like what are their credentials? Not that I want to know who has a degree in property development, who's done it, and why is this group here? Why does it exist? Even if no one in the group has ever developed a property, but you research the group and you're like, hey, this is cool. There's a group of people that they've never developed property. We're going to all figure it out together, whatever. To just be leery of, fake experts or just there's a lot of people out there that do want to just get your money.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some that I've thought about is like, have you ever heard of Bigger Pockets? It's like a podcast. It's centered around real estate investing and that kind of stuff. Like they have meetup groups.
Yeah.
Cool. And so hopefully, definitely research the source of the group, with, and it maybe, and I don't know, because I've never been there, but maybe with something like a Bigger Pockets group, maybe there's some credentials or some structure behind it that makes it legit, or whatever. But yeah, definitely. I mean, like you're saying, definitely be careful of that. But I do think there's probably some good resources in some of that kind of stuff. If you're a person that is maybe more extroverted or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah, and let's say we do choose a bad group, you learn from it.
Yeah, you know what not to look for.
Yeah.
And listen to your gut when you go to those things.
Very true.
I'm huge on, a kind of a gut feeling or a gut instinct. And, I have gone to some seminars or business things or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm just not, you can kind of tell when you walk in, you're like, no, that's just isn't what I'm going for, what I'm looking for, and so.
Yeah. I've heard really good things about ClickFunnels, like ClickFunnels seminars. They teach businessy stuff and then people network from there, but have heard really good things about that. I don't know if they're around anymore, but it was Peak Potentials, which was Harv Eker, and he had some stuff going on. Jack Canfield still does. I mean, a lot of this was kind of shut down by COVID.
Yeah.
Meetup groups and seminars and all of that kind of got kiboshed a little. We were looking at just some business seminars, going to something. We just felt like we needed to go learn something. Couldn't find any. They were all just shut down.
Is it all, they're doing it all like online type stuff?
Yeah,
like
that's kind of not what I want though. As far as networking, getting out there, I want that physical interaction. Like, online is just, I know Zoom calls are weird, but maybe that's just because I'm old.
Yeah, it is hard to get into them.
Yeah, I don't feel like, hey, if I don't really want to be in this, just take myself off the screen and it can be there on Instagram while this meeting's happening. It doesn't really matter. It really, that face to face is so nice. Also, you know what? This sounds like an opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, seminars don't really exist anymore because of COVID. Sounds like we need to go to a couple cities that do allow it and start putting on success seminars. Or whatever it is, small business cash calf seminars. Because really, how many people are out there? and they might even be listening to this and they're like, yeah, I know it's possible. I know we can do it. And then you go to these places and you do a seminar, and then you have some networking time, and people that have that same mindset, hey, I want to grow, I want to learn. Okay. Oh, I met this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Go make it happen.
Yeah.
And if you think about success in and of itself, so the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, we start to put that into business and adding value. It's hard to do yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any self-made, quote, self-made millionaires out there. It's no, people that have networked, and a lot of people have helped each other get to places.
Yeah.
You'll even see this on Instagram. There's these kind of, you'll follow one person and then all of a sudden you follow another person and they're linked, because it shows you if someone's followed by someone. I just noticed this group the other day. I follow like 5 of them, and they're all this group of friends, like JP Sears.
Okay.
And there's a guy that coaches like coaches gym coaches and how to be better, and then a few different subjects. And it's just funny, they all got successful together using the same platforms online. They all had kind of the same coach and they moved in that same direction, but they did it together. It's all that network,
but kind of different focuses.
Very different focuses. Their businesses themselves, insanely different businesses. There's one that owns it's a nutrition tracking app, but then one is JP Sears. They're like, wait, that's not even close to the same thing. But they knew the same people and they helped each other to grow into those positions. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, like you say, there's no self-made people. There's teams around any business that I've been part of. There's a team of people there.
Yeah.
There's people there's contractors, or there's realtors, or legal people, or accountants, and so you kind of just over time you find the people that you can use to work together, and they don't all directly work for me necessarily. I'm, certain aspects of it they're helping me with or whatever. And, it's just, there's definitely a team behind everything.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's interesting. I listened, this was just like a little clip that I just thought about, was that Dan Pena or something.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's like a billionaire, always yelling and screaming at people.
Yeah, he's always swearing.
Yeah.
Effing Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and this was just a short clip, but he said, somebody asked him, is there one trait that successful people have or billionaires have or something? And this was really interesting response to me. He said 99%, I think it was 99, of billionaires that he has coached. He said all the billionaires, there was one billionaire that was a billionaire before he coached them, but then all the other billionaires that had become billionaires because of his coaching were not billionaires before. So I don't know how many that is, but he said 99% of those individuals were introverts. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. And then he said only 1% were extroverts like him. He, specifically recognized himself as an extrovert. But anyway, I thought that was interesting that he said too, he's like, look at Bill Gates, look at Mark Zuckerberg, look at, a lot of these people that are really wealthy and whatever, they are all introverts. And so I thought that was interesting, and especially talking about networking, because talking to people is hard, especially for introverts. I know I recognize that I'm an introvert. I would rather just keep to myself and do my thing than be out talking to people. But, obviously success is a principle of introverted people. And so there's ways to get over that and kind of build those skills and network and find the people that can help you and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I've done personality tests and I'm like a mix. There's nothing about me that just jumps out like, hey, you're extroverted here, you're introverted here. It's such a mix.
And I've never taken a test. Maybe I should. I just always kind of have pictured myself as an introvert, but maybe not. I don't know.
Like fire departments, I've heard are primarily type A personalities, but I'm not. Like it was, I don't know, which had great relationships there though, never had someone that was really mad at me that we could never get over it or whatever. So I don't know. I just talking about myself right now, but it is interesting. No. It's like, just because something is said to be a certain way, so fire department's primarily type A, doesn't mean you can't go there and thrive.
Yeah.
Maybe it actually needs some not type A or any industry that has a certain type. Maybe if you're a different type, go dabble in it, because maybe that's what we need.
Well, and you can see things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's, somebody that's going to come in, you think, well, I don't have 30 years of experience to start and this is different than, personality type or whatever in an industry, but just you think I don't have 30 years of experience to come in and do this business or whatever in a industry that has a ton of those kind of businesses, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. You're probably going to be able to see things that those businesses can't. You're going to have a different perspective on it. And you're probably going to find a niche that those businesses aren't serving. We're as entrepreneurs, we're just solving problems. So there's probably problems there that can be solved that the people that are in the industry can't see it. And same thing with different personality types in a certain industry that's saturated with type A personalities or whatever. You can probably come in there and actually probably do very well because you bring something different than is already there.
You're going to stand out in that crowd.
Yeah. So it's, it's kind of it's just depending on how you look at it. You can look at everything as a negative. Oh, well, it's all type A people and I'm not a type A person, so I'm not going to do well. Or you can look at it all positive and as an opportunity, like, oh, well, it's all type A people. There's a need for a different personality in there.
Go disrupt. Go disrupt that fixed way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's, market disruptors. There's Mark Moss. He talks about disrupting markets like Bitcoin, how that disrupted the whole fiat system. And then within cryptocurrency, you've got other cryptocurrencies that are disruptors, whether it's smart contracts or NFTs or whatever it is, which NFTs are so weird. But they disrupt the market. It's like, hey, you can have a piece of Chris Farley art up on the wall, but do you own it on the blockchain? It's just so weird.
Yep. And a lot of those people are stuck in that old system. Are on their way out, and there's a new system, like Warren Buffett and Munger are always like talking bad on Bitcoin. Well, they missed out on that opportunity.
Yeah, he really liked Coca-Cola and he did great off of it. So
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But you also, I don't understand NFTs, but I have some because it seemed like a great opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, just NFTs, they're so weird.
I haven't gotten into it at all. I don't know. Like, I understand it, or I think I understand it. And I can see where the value is going forward. I mean, obviously the value is not there yet. I mean, it is kind of.
I think it can be. It's so weird right now.
But if we legitimately get into a metaverse type world where lots of people are using systems in that way, then obviously I can see how there's going to be a need for it. Or
we have a Coca-Cola snow globe. I have an NFT that's a Coca-Cola snow globe. Like, this is so dumb. But it's gone like up 50% in value. It was like, $75 or whatever. And or it was, I don't know, $100 now it's worth 150. It's just so weird. Like that, it's not real. Someone just made it. and released it on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's real enough that I was able to buy it, and it's mine on the blockchain. But it's an it's a snow globe.
Yeah.
You can't even shake it.
Yeah.
Because it's a picture. It's
but
so
I think
weird.
that's a good example though, because what is an actual snow globe? Like, what's the utility of that? You
Okay, that's very true.
set it on a table and you look at it.
Yeah.
How's an NFT any different? You
Yeah,
set it
very
on
true.
your digital table and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it before, but that might
Yeah.
the snow globe might be the best example of
Cool.
where an NFT gets value from that I've heard yet.
What's crazy is when I first started getting into buying and selling them, if there was a drop, meaning artists release it, they release it on a certain date, you'd hop on within a couple hours and how sweet, it's still there. You buy it. I've set myself a reminder for probably the last, maybe not the last 10, but at least 10 drops. I've set a reminder for myself 5 minutes before, and I hop on and I just start clicking buy, even before the release time. Because as soon as it's released, let's say there's 8,000 snow globes that are sold, they're sold immediately. It's nuts how fast these things are going. And the prices, it's ridiculous. Like if you happen to click and get $100 piece of art, it's relisted almost immediately for $1,000. So you're like, please, come on, please. I'm clicking. Please buy this, because you know that the price is just going to go up.
That is so bizarre.
It's so weird.
Huh. Yeah, it's crazy. I like I said, I haven't even gotten into it that much, so I don't know. But because it makes you, I mean, basic economics, it's like, well, why can't they, if they can make 1,000 of them, why can't they make 10,000 of them? Or
that's where I get held up with NFTs, is I go, because they just hit print, essentially. I mean, they had to create it, put it on the blockchain and everything, but then they decide. So on this app that I've been using, which is called Vive, and it's kind of weird right now because you put dollars into gems and it's dollar for dollar.
So it's not, you don't use Ethereum for it.
No,
you put dollars into.
So I don't even know if this platform's it is supposed to get put out to the main net at some point, and then you can put your snow globe in the metaverse or whatever. But it is kind of weird right now because if you want to get out, you just can sell into gems. You can't sell into dollars.
You can't get
and
dollars
pull
back
it
out.
But you will be able to. And that's where this stuff is weird anyways, because you look at it and you're like, will it? I don't know. But if it does, you just turned $100 snow globe into 1,000.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Well, I think that there's something to be said for, there's all these people that are like, oh, it's stupid, it's not doing anything. Well, what if it does?
Yeah.
There's something to be said. Now, I totally understand, like, if somebody is borrowing a ton of money and investing every penny they can into it, then obviously that's bad. That's bad for anything.
Yeah.
That's bad to do for stocks or whatever kind of investment you're into. But what's the harm in saying, I'm going to throw $100 at this?
Yeah.
$100 a month. And there's the potential that, okay, if it goes away, I'm out $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it goes up, it could, it can be life-changing money, which is like some of those cryptos. There was some that I think it was like Shiba, or I don't know.
Shiba. Yeah.
But like literally in a year's time, it went from, like, if you would have bought $1,500 in Shiba, then you would have had like millions.
Yeah, like 15 million.
Yeah. And so it's just, you can't and I think that a lot of people too look at that and they're like, come on. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like that doesn't happen. Some people have had it.
Yep. There are people that
are crazy.
They're buying these ape NFTs and selling them for millions. And there's
is that like the crazy monkey that where he's like smoking a cigarette and got sunglasses on or whatever? I have seen like images of those.
If within the last 6 months, if people started investing into cryptocurrency, or I don't even want to say investing, because you're actually just converting. Let's say that you're converting into Bitcoin. Yeah, you're going to think Bitcoin sucks over the last 6 months. but keep dollar cost averaging, keep buying.
Mhm.
Shiba, it's so funny how the markets move now. My brother texts me, he's like, hey, there's this one, it's called Shiba Inu, and Elon Musk is tweeting about it. And he saw that on TikTok.
Hmm.
So I try to do my research. I try to look, hey, what's Bitcoin going to do? What's the market? What's this? What's that? He's like, I saw it on TikTok. I'm like, crap, if it's on TikTok, I better,
Yeah.
because people see it and they're like, oh, this is going to be huge. I don't
All
remember.
of that's out the window. All looking
Yeah.
into it and being responsible is out the window
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it was like $500 into 2,500. And it was because of TikTok. And then he gets on, he's like, hey, I saw that Shiba might go down on TikTok. So I'm like, well, crap, I'm going to sell it. And we bought and sold twice, and it went from 500 to 2,500.
Uh-huh.
It's back down right now. So, and I definitely understand, like, I'm not the type of person that's going to say, like, oh, it's worth 2,500 because at one time it was.
Uh-huh.
No, it's like 1,500 now. So 500 into 1,500. Nuts though. A 300% gain. And I don't think it has any utility. In fact, I think right now it's they're printing more of it. So an inflationary currency.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the dollar of cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But people buy it.
Yeah.
And who knows?
It's bizarre.
Maybe when Elon Musk is on Mars, and
maybe that'll be the currency.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah.
But had to dabble in order to get there. You had to talk to some people, figure it out.
Well, and that's the important part, is you have learned, right? I mean, you've learned something by doing these things. Nobody knew what an NFT was a year ago.
Yeah.
And now you've looked into it, you've dabbled into it, you know what NFTs are, and you know how to get them and how to, like, there's opportunities all around us to do that kind of stuff, or to do anything.
Yeah.
There's opportunities all around us to do anything. So, yeah.
So get out and do it.
Get out and do it. Network. Talk to people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And if anyone has any questions, network with us. Talk to us. Just ask us questions. We love to chat about stuff.
For sure.
So sweet. Well, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
We'll make it happen again here soon.
Yeah. Sounds good. See you in a week.
Yeah.